Part 24. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 231. Chapter 231 Honeymoon. The next day, when Dark Flame drove the yacht to the middle of a deep sea, he stopped the yacht. Dandan looked at the sea. "Master, I'm going to the beach to catch seafood. Let's have a seafood dinner today." "Okay, it's up to you to catch it today. We can eat fresh seafood directly." "Then master, let's go down." After saying that, the two of them took off their shoes, and the two little guys jumped up. Han Yan took Mu Yanhan's hand and said, "Daughter-in-law, I will take you to a place." The two of them transformed into dragon bodies and dived directly into the seabed. Looking at their happy faces, the two of them also smiled. They all went down, followed closely by the two. They held hands and flew into the sea together. Dandan held up the huge king crab and waved to them happily. "Master, look. I picked up a big crab." Juhu smiled and flew over. "Look, Dandan, I caught a huge shrimp." "You don't like eating shrimps the most." Mu Kinjian looked at the shrimps and crabs in their hands and said, "Not bad. Dandan, you and Juhu can catch some more squids." "Okay master, we are going to catch a lot of squid and prawns." The two of them held hands and looked at the underwater world, which had a unique flavor. If someone saw a living person playing at the bottom of the sea, they would probably be scared to death. Dimian on the side handed Mu Yanhan a delicate and beautiful sea pearl. "Daughter-in-law, this is for you." He put the conch he found into his hand and said, "This conch is very beautiful. I give it to you." And Yan hugged her happily. "My wife, you have such a good sense, you are so beautiful." Suddenly Dandan swam to them on a huge whale and said happily, "Master, can I accept them as pets? Look at how powerful and domineering they are. If I ride them as pets, I will be the most handsome boy." Mu Kinjian looked at several huge whales and was obviously frightened. "Ahem, Dandan. This place is more suitable for them. Your master, I don't recommend that you keep such a big pet. But you can raise fish if you want. After all, small carps are quite cute, so we don't need to keep them so big." "Yes." Eggy looked disappointed. "Okay, master, it's a pity that such a big mount would be too cool to ride on. Forget about the small carps, they don't suit my temperament at all. I want to have some fun with them." Several whales were surrounding Dandan, and she was having a great time playing with them. Until they got tired of playing, several people sat on the whale's body and carried them to swim to the sea. Dandan reluctantly touched the whale. "Goodbye my great mount. I will miss you. Thank you for sending us back. Goodbye." The whale screamed happily, jumped up on the sea, and slowly left. She was holding the seafood and smiling happily. "We can have a seafood dinner today." He held her hand with one hand and held the seafood in the other. "Okay, little greedy cat, you love seafood so much. But it's delicious. I want a steamed one, and a stir-fried one. I want it spicy by the way, I want both flavors." "Haha, I obey my wife and I promise to complete the task. Even if you want to eat anything flying in the sky, I will catch it for you." He smiled with a doting and cooperative look on his face, and couldn't help but kiss her cheek afterwards. "Ching-er, your cheeks are salty, haha, not sweet anymore." She pretended to be angry and wanted to kick him. "Okay, you can. You dislike me, don't you? Looking for a beating?" He picked up the things and ran away. "It's indeed salty. It's not sweet anymore." Everyone looked at the playful master in front of him, and Dandan suddenly shook his head like an adult. "Like a child, huh?" Mu Kinjian saw that she was disliked by her spiritual pet, and couldn't help but look at each other. Xian, are we disliked by them?" "They don't dare to dislike it, they dare to dislike it because I make them look good." Several spiritual pets ran away instantly when he saw them. When Han Yexuan finished cooking, the group of people sat on the table of the ship. She served the dishes and prepared white rice for them. It's time to eat. Today's dinner is very rich. Let's eat. Everyone started eating happily. Full of seafood, a lot of it went into her and Dandan's stomachs. As night fell, Han Yexuan took her hand, covered her eyes, and took her flying to the distant sea. Dandan and Juhu were very busy placing fireworks all over the open area of the ship. The nearby area has long been shrouded by his divine power, and mortals cannot see the situation here. When the two came to the sky, he put down his hand. Suddenly there was a bang, and fireworks bloomed with beautiful flowers in the sky. Mu Qingjian was in a daze. This was the first time she saw fireworks. It turned out that the fireworks were so beautiful. He saw her dazed look. Qing is this your first time seeing fireworks? Yes. So these are fireworks. They are very beautiful. I like them very much. Well, as long as you like it. After the two of them finished watching the fireworks, a few people started to clean up the mess. They were the tools for the male host to tease the hostess. He looked down at her, and she just raised her head, and the two of them looked at each other. He slowly lowered his head and kissed her red lips. After a long time, he hugged her contentedly. She blushed slightly and stood up slowly. Let's go back, there are hot springs near here, it would be nice if we could take a dip in the hot springs. Okay, let's go back to shore. Dandan looked at them with a wicked smile on his face. Master, you are back, don't you want to watch the fireworks? We haven't set off enough yet. Ahem, I'm back after I've finished watching. Isn't there a hot spring near our hotel? Let's take a bath together. Eggy jumped up happily. Haha, master, let's go back quickly. Let's go take a bath in the hot springs. When Dark Flame drove the yacht back, the group arrived at the hot spring area of the villa. When they arrived at the scene, Han Yexuan took Mu Qingjian to the hot spring next door. Dandan looked at them. Master, aren't we all going to have a bath together? Just think about it. She is my wife. The four of you can go to a hot spring each. After that, he took her to the hot spring. Dandan shouted, what a mistake. I thought I could soak in the hot springs with the master. I feel so happy just thinking about it. Juhu said, Dandan, you are a girl. You should be greedy for us men, not girls. Humph, I'm so greedy for your little bean sprout figure, I don't want it. That will be fine when I grow up. Let's wait until you grow up. Han Yan took Mu Yanhan to the hot spring next door. You two take a dip by yourselves. I'm going to go to the hot spring with my wife. Juhu looked at Dandan and smiled happily. Dandan, let's go to the hot springs too. Juhu soaked in the hot spring and said loudly, it feels so comfortable. Dandan, please come down quickly. Dandan was not shy at all and jumped in directly. When Mu Qingjian walked out wrapped in a bath towel, she had a pair of long, white, and smooth legs and an enviable and proud figure. She shyly walked to the hot spring and sat down. Han Yexuan on the side just stared at her blankly, making her even more shy. I thought I was going to soak in a hot spring with Dandan, but I ended up soaking in a hot spring with him. The atmosphere was quite embarrassing. Dandan was lying on the wall furtively. I'll climb up and see what happens. Juhu looked at her lewd expression and said directly, I don't know what will happen, but I can predict that your end will be tragic. After all, the master is very scary. When the melon seeds on Dandan's little head were exposed, I was about to take a peek. Suddenly a bucket fell from the sky, just covering Eggy's head. Eggy reached out and picked up the bucket on his head. Who is it? Whoever threw the bucket around. Do you know if I have smacked you? Come out quickly and see if I don't beat you up. Suddenly Han Yexuan's voice sounded, what's wrong with me? Are you very free? Do you want me to help you stretch your muscles? Eggy was frightened. Haha, master, please don't be like this, I just want to say hello to the master. It turned out to be the master who threw it. You threw it really well and accurately, and it hit me right in the head. After saying this, she jumped directly into the hot spring. Juhu felt funny and helpless when he saw Dandan like this. Mukhinjian covered her mouth and couldn't help laughing. Dandan is such a loser. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 232. Chapter 232, Starting the Mission. By the time the two of them took a dip in the hot springs, the 10-day honeymoon trip was completely over. When the group came back, it was already 10 days later. Mukhinjian returned to school. When she returned to the office, Luolei looked at her with a smirk. "Boss, how have you been on your honeymoon these 10 days? During these 10 days when you were away, you don't know how much your classmates missed you, and they would ask me from time to time if you were back." "Ahem, you will know about your honeymoon when you get a wife in the future. I'm afraid that when I'm not here, they will go to heaven and still miss me, so it's unlikely." "Haha, boss, don't question me like this, my classmates love you too." Mukhinjian shook her head helplessly and sighed, "Forget it. By the way, we have a mission in a few days, so let the students get ready and leave tomorrow." Luolei looked curious. "Boss, what mission is our class going to do? Why didn't I receive the message? This is the mission I just took over, so of course you don't know. Our mission this time is to exterminate some criminals. It is also the first mission of the special training class, and it is also to accept their results for almost a month." "That's it, I understand, boss." When Luolei walked into the classroom, he looked at them seriously. "You have a mission tomorrow. You need to go to a remote virgin forest to eliminate criminals. The mission risk is also quite high, so students, please pay attention to safety." "Wow, it's so exciting. Oh my God, are they all cruel people? Isn't our task too difficult?" So excited, but also very scared. Mukhinjian looked at them. "Don't worry, Luolei and I will lead you on this mission. We will protect you secretly, and in order to protect your safety, you will wear safety equipment on this trip. You must know that you are now soldiers, so you must be brave enough to overcome difficulties, but what I hope is that you must protect your own safety while completing your mission. Do you understand?" The people in the special training class looked serious, understand and promised to complete the task. Luolei led someone to bring the soft armor up. 15 of you, come up one after another to receive your armor. This is a good treasure. It is equivalent to one more life. These things are very valuable and are for your mission tomorrow. Wear it. You need to hand it back after the mission is completed. After all, the boss used his connections to borrow it for temporary use, just to save your lives. The people in the special training class were instantly moved. "Thank you, teacher, we will definitely protect ourselves." Mukhinjian smiled and nodded, "Yes. Now I will explain the task clearly. You all should listen carefully to me. This mission was to discover that someone was making drugs in the mountainous area, but the leader and 10 of his men escaped, and their escape route was the virgin forest within the diplomatic scope of my country in country E. Luolei opened the computer map model, and the model map of the entire country was displayed in a virtual form. She pointed at a forest with an iron rod. "See where I'm pointing? They probably escaped here, and you need to go in and catch them. But you need to go through various difficulties along the way, some from people and some from animals. Boundary. These difficulties require you to face and search, so you should know what you need to prepare. This trip is not just a simple survival in the wild like the previous 2 times. This is a real shot. What you need to face, they are real prisoners whose lives are in danger at any time. Are you afraid? You can withdraw if you are afraid." Everyone glanced at each other, and then looked at her with firm eyes. "Never give up, never back down." Mukhinjian smiled with satisfaction and said, Very good. It is worthy of my study. I will be proud of you. This time you have completed the task perfectly. I will give each of you a big gift. Please look forward to it. Ma Chao said excitedly, Teacher, what a big gift. Are you giving money to each person? He. Wu Chao rolled his eyes, you are also a talent, so a big gift is definitely not something you can do. You only know money. Well, that's such a pity, I thought I was rich. Su Heron asked curiously, last time, you were awarded 1 million for second place. Did you spend it all like this? Ma Chao touched his pocket and said, hey, I saved it. This money is used to marry my wife. For it. Everyone was speechless for him in an instant. It was not that he had no money in love, but he saved it to marry a wife. He had been thinking about marrying a wife since he was young. Luo Lei couldn't help but admire Ma Chao when he saw him like this. He was not in a hurry at the age of 23, but he was even more anxious at the age of 18. Mu Qingjian smiled helplessly and said, okay, I promise to satisfy you, and continue talking about what needs to be done. The group of people listened to her lectures, all of which were about skills and knowledge that would be useful in practical combat tomorrow, so they all listened attentively. By the time the class was over, they had all benefited a lot and were looking forward to tomorrow's tasks. The next morning, a group of people went out secretly. Everyone's faces were no longer as playful as before, and everyone became serious. After putting the group down, Mu Qingjian and Luo Lei also left. Looking at the plane going away, they were about to begin their mission. Mu Xiaoyui and Mu Xiao were the captains. They quickly divided into 2 teams and started looking for people. Luo Lei was sitting on the plane, boss, where are we going now? I already have a place to go. Xiao Su can just drop me off on the top of the mountain over there. Received from Major General. Soon the plane flew to the top of a mountain, and there were people already there, so the equipment was all ready. Luo Lei was surprised when he saw it and said, boss, your business ability is too strong. It's necessary. Okay, let's take a closer look at how they are going to find the prisoner. After the group saw her, the leading officer looked at her with admiration. Major General, you are here. The drone has already followed them. Now the special training class is divided into 2 teams to start looking for the prisoners. Very good, thank you for your hard work, she said to him politely. It's not hard work. When the 2 of them walked into the tent, they saw people from the special training class on the big screen walking in the primeval forest. Everyone was on alert. Ma Chao was holding a rifle. Xiao, do you think there will be any big pythons here? I saw on TV that these lakes have the most of them. Zhao Jiarui glared at him and said, you'd better shut up. Don't be so talkative. That's right. It feels so scary. Lin Xiaoxiao shook her body in fear. She hated snakes the most. Mu Xiao ignored him and continued to lead the way. Everyone, please be vigilant, anything is possible after all, this is a virgin forest, and unknown animals are beyond our imagination. Everyone quickly became wary of something. The group of people looked around and walked step by step into the lake that was more than 1 meter deep. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 233. Chapter 233 Fierce Fight. When the group of them walked for more than 10 minutes, the surface of the lake rippled. Mu Xiao quickly raised the gun in his hand and said, everyone, get out of the water quickly. Something is swimming in the lake. Ma Chao, you are like a crow's mouth. Ma Chao ran very fast, you can't blame me, I just have a very accurate sixth sense. The group of people ran as hard as they could. Lin Xiaoxiao was a girl and walking in the water made it even harder to walk fast. She was soon overtaken, and she could only turn around and shoot randomly at the water. All guns were silenced, but fortunately the prisoners were not alerted. When everyone saw her firing, they didn't care so much and quickly helped to shoot into the lake. Lin Xiaoxiao, run quickly, we will help you set up the gun, and get out of the water quickly. She started running as hard as she could, and Ma Chao quickly returned and grabbed her, running back and pulling her to the grass by the lake. The group of people quickly retreated and pointed their guns at the lake. Everyone looked nervous. At this time, the monster in the lake finally surfaced, and it turned out to be a huge crocodile. Everyone swallowed subconsciously. If this guy bites him, he will probably die or be crippled. Now they know that this mission is really not a joke, but a serious one. The crocodile's blood quickly covered the entire lake. As a result, the lake surface fluctuated again. Suddenly, a bucket python wrapped around the crocodile and pulled it into the lake. Everyone was frightened by the scene and took a few steps back, then glanced at Ma Chao. He looked frightened. Don't look at me like that. I was just talking. I didn't expect there to be such a big python. Mu Xiao also glanced at him curiously. Okay, let's keep walking. The group of people continued to move forward, and the scene just now made the group of people more vigilant. On the other side, Mu Xiaoyui and his team were walking in the forest on the other side. Suddenly, Su Heron felt an itch on his back. My back is so itchy. Zhang Yu, come here and help me see what's going on. Zhang Yu walked up to him and said, what's wrong? You were bitten by a mosquito, right? If you put on your clothes, there won't be so much trouble. He was talking and looking at the same time. As a result, he tore the clothes off his back and saw the dense black locusts behind him. His whole scalp went numb. Holy shit, what is this? I'm going to vomit if I can't do it. He was so frightened that his scalp was numb and his whole face turned pale. Su Heron looked confused and said, what's wrong? What's wrong with my back? Mu Xiaoyui took a closer look and frowned. Why don't you get dressed? He complained with a look on his face. It was too hot, so I untied it. What happened to my back? Take off your clothes and we'll help you take off the things from behind. This time everyone finally saw the dense swarms of locusts behind him, and some women turned pale with fright. Everyone hurriedly checked each other to see if they had it on their bodies. Fortunately, it was all outside their clothes and not like him. Mu Xiaoyui sprinkled salt on his back, and soon the locusts fell down one by one. Su Heron turned around and saw so many locusts on the ground that he vomited immediately. He pulled Zhang Yu to find a private place and asked him to check himself. Luo Lei couldn't help but feel nervous for them when he saw their experiences. Boss, how many weird things are there that we don't know about? Mu Qingjian calmly replied, you will know in a few days. This mission is obviously beyond the scope I gave them. We can only see how they do it. She also thought that there were these low-level monsters here, and they must have overpopulated in the years since she left. After a few days, their food was finished and everyone gathered together. The group of people looked around and saw a river nearby. They took a closer look. The bottom of the river was clearly visible, and there were only some fish that were too small to be eaten. After walking for more than half an hour, I didn't see anything to eat. Of course, there were a lot of snakes and insects. They suddenly heard movement in front of them, and everyone slowly lowered their bodies, hid behind the trees, and began to disguise themselves. Soon I saw a lot of people not far ahead, at least 10 of them. They were tall and burly, and each of them held a weapon in their hand. At first glance, he is not a good person, his eyes are extremely cruel. Listening to their unintelligible native dialect, the group knew that they were responsible for this mission and that they were criminals. The group of people communicated in quick sign language. Ma Chao and Zhang Yu slowly retreated, planning to snipe. But the leader quickly noticed something and looked behind the tree on the side. "Someone, get out of here." They knew they were exposed and quickly opened fire. The criminals quickly fought back, but there were 10 of them, and no matter how many bullets they had, they couldn't hit 15 of them, and half of them were quickly knocked down. The leader saw a sniper on the other side and said, "Quickly retreat." Mu Qingjian and Luo Lei also rushed to the scene. "Boss, the gunshots are not far ahead. Let's go." The group of people hurriedly moved in their direction. In order to save Zhao Jiarui, Mu Xiao was accidentally hit in the arm, abdomen, and thigh. He covered the hit arm and fired alone. Mu Xiaoyui quickly came over nervously to help him. "Xiao, are you okay?" He shook his head. "It's okay. You arrest them first, don't let them escape." Out of 10 people, Ma Chao and Zhang Yu sniped down 6 of them. When the 4 saw that they could not defeat them, they quickly used the terrain to escape. The remaining few people quickly caught the gangsters on the ground to prevent them from escaping again. During the escape process, Mu Xiaoyui directly knocked down the person who injured Mu Xiao, and the other person was beaten so hard that he could not move. The leading man saw Mu Xiaoyui and others chasing after him, turned around and shot directly. He wanted to kill this man, but actually wounded his brother. Seeing that all his brothers fell, the man directly picked up a few grenades and threw them behind him. Mu Qingjian shouted loudly, "Everyone, get down here." Everyone hurriedly fell down when they heard her voice, and Mu Xiaoyui quickly protected Mu Xiao under him. Bang! "Don't move, raise your hands if you dare to resist, you will be shot to death." Luo Lei held a gun and said to the man lying on the ground. The man reluctantly put down the gun in his hand and glared at him. Mu Xiao couldn't control her overdraft and fainted. "Xiao Yu, clean up the battlefield and bring these guys back to me." "Everything is done," she said coldly. "Yes, Major General." After saying this, the 10 special forces behind her quickly cleared the scene and left quickly with the people. Mu Qingjian walked to him, took out a bottle of medicine from her arms, and fed him. The bleeding stopped quickly. "Xiao Rui, please take Xiao Yu on the plane for medical treatment first. The injured classmates will also go back for medical treatment first. Those who are not injured will get off the plane first." Everyone helped up the injured classmates. Half of the 15 were seriously injured. The others had superficial injuries but were fine. The task was completed. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 234. Chapter 234. Dare to hurt him. When Mu Xiao got on the plane, the classmates who were not seriously injured looked at them as they left with worried faces. Mu Xiaoyui on the plane looked at the busy medical staff. The helicopter was full of the smell of blood. Because there were too many outsiders, he could not heal him openly. Instead, he secretly used spiritual power to stop his bleeding. Mu Qingjian unlocked his cultivation when he got on the plane, so he could use spiritual power to treat his injuries. After a while, the medical staff saw that the bleeding finally stopped, and they felt relieved. At this time, he slowly opened his eyes. "Rui, you are not hurt anywhere, are you?" He looked at him again and asked nervously. Mu Xiaoyui shook his head. "I'm fine, don't move, you're still hurt." "That's good, I'm fine, I'm much better." When they returned, the important prisoner suddenly fell into a coma on the plane, and he was not seen waking up for a long time. The medical staff looked at him. He doesn't have any injuries on his appearance. How could he be unconscious all this time? Looking at the medical staff with confused expressions on their faces, the colonel on the side glanced secretly at Mu Qingjian, and asked the great master in front of him. After all, she was probably the one who caused this appearance of a repeat offender. She sneered, "Don't worry, I won't die. I just let him have a sweet dream. If you dare to hurt my brother, How can you make him stand comfortably? You know my brother is still lying down. The colonel on the side swallowed his saliva. Good guy, it seems that he must not offend this Mew, including her, in the future, otherwise he will die without knowing it. On the other side, Mr. Bo and Grandma Bo knew that their grandson was injured, so they rushed to the hospital and stood at the door of the emergency room with nervous faces. What's going on with Xiao Rui? Is Xiao Yu seriously injured? Grandpa and Grandma are fine. The doctor is just treating Xiao's wounds and checking for trauma. Grandma Bo's heart instantly relaxed. That's good. Xiao Rui, you are also injured. Go and have a look. Bo Lao saw that he was also injured and quickly asked the nurse to look at the injury for her. In order not to worry the two old people, he had no choice but to treat the wound. When the doctor came out, Mr. Bo quickly asked, "Doctor, how is my grandson doing?" The doctor took off his mask and said, "It's fine now. The bullets in his hands and thighs have been removed, and the bleeding has stopped. The rest are just skin injuries, and he just needs to recover for a while." "That's fine, thank you." When Grandma Bo heard the doctor say that her grandson had been shot, she realized that it was not as understatement as Xiao Rui said. The two old men stayed with him in the hospital all afternoon. When he woke up, he was fine, so they let the old man go back. Knowing that Mu Xiaorui was taking care of him, he left with peace of mind. A week later, he was discharged from the hospital. In the dead of night, a man suddenly and mysteriously appeared in the prison, but everyone seemed to be unable to see him. He looked at him coldly. "How dare you hurt him? Have you thought about how to accept my anger?" The man looked at Mu Xiaorui with fear on his face. "Don't come over here." "Ah." He looked at the man as if he were dead. "You made him look like this. Do you think you should die?" Every time he spoke, spiritual power was injected into his body. Although the man had no wounds on the outside, his life was worse than death, and his life was worse than being shot. When they thought they were going to die, who knew the outcome, he just left like this, leaving the other person hanging with only one breath left. When the prison guards inside were inspecting, they found that these prisoners were like this, so they quickly reported it to the superiors, who naturally found Mu Qingjian. She could only rush over there overnight. Seeing their appearance, she knew who did it without even thinking. Hurry to rescue them. After all, they will die tomorrow, so it is not good to die tonight. Several people were rescued by her from the gate of hell. Now they are scared when they see her. They are not normal people. She has almost repaired Mu Xiao's injuries, and there are no scars at all. This mission also made the people in the special training class more united and wanted to become stronger. Looking at their desire to become stronger, she will naturally help them. Half a month later, give some devil training content to Luolei and ask him to practice with them. He had a bitter look on his face. "Boss, am I not an instructor? Why do I have to practice with them?" Mu Qingjian looked at his belly and said, "If you don't move, you'll have a big belly, so I, your boss, am doing it for your own good, you know." Luolei subconsciously touched his abdominal muscles and found that he had gained weight and his abdominal muscles were no longer obvious. "Ah, I didn't even notice my 8-pack abs. It's all my fault, boss, that every time your husband gives you food, I also get fat." "But boss, you eat so much every day, why don't you get fat?" She ate the ice cream and said, "I don't know, maybe it's just what you are born with. So for a young person like you, don't learn from me. Otherwise, you will be the same as me. If you are an instructor with a big belly, you are not afraid of being laughed at by them." "Okay. Then I will practice with them and return to my subversive moment." Mu Qingjian laughed instantly when she saw his appearance. "Haha, then work hard. Do you want to drink this milk tea?" Luolei looked at the milk tea in her hand, grabbed it, inserted the straw and drank it. "It's great. Boss, Wait until I finish this cup and then try harder. During training in the afternoon, everyone saw Luo training with them, and they became curious. Instructor Luo, why are you so good at training with everyone today? Ma Chao asked curiously. Wu Tao smiled and said, haha, I'm afraid he was punished by the teacher to train with me. He didn't do it voluntarily. Luo saw that he had guessed correctly and became serious. Ahem, what do you know? I'm just too bored, so I just practice with you guys. How could I be punished by the boss? You think I'm you? Tisk tisk, just keep making it up. Don't you usually follow the teacher's example of drinking milk tea and eating ice cream while watching us train? Why did you change it? Hey, you don't understand this. If you eat too much of this stuff, you'll get tired of it. Why are you talking so much to you little brats? Why don't you start running and whining for me? Do you want to be lazy? Luo said fiercely. Mu Qingjian saw the content of their argument, shook her head helplessly, and walked over slowly. You seem to be very free, each person adds another will and keeps running. The special training class looked troubled. No, teacher, we need to add more. Come on, speed up, why bother? There are 15 of you beating 10 of others. If you don't have that armor, your team will all be wiped out, so practice hard for me, and no one will be lazy. The Devil's training day had begun again, and they had no choice but to add tires obediently. After all, what Mu Qingjian said was indeed true. Without armor, they would have been shot and injured long ago, and they might have died. They did underestimate the enemy, and their strength was indeed inferior to them, so no one said a word and continued training. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 235. Chapter 235. Are there any benefits tonight? When get out of class was over, Zhao Jiarui went up, blushed and lowered his head and said, that student Xiao, I have something to tell you, you can come out with me. Seeing her look like this, Mu Xiaoyui naturally knew what she was going to say, but he knew he would handle it well. When he saw her shy look, he naturally knew what she was going to say and took her directly to the rooftop where there was no one around. When the two came here, she asked in a panic, well, I like you Mu Xiao, can you be my boyfriend? I'm sorry, I can't accept you, I already have someone I like. She looked in disbelief because she had been paying attention to him and he had never had any contact with girls other than teachers. He spends time with Mu Xiaoyui every day. When did he have someone he likes? How is it possible? Who is it? Then why did you risk your life to save me during the last mission? What are your feelings for me? After all, he was injured while saving her last time, so she wanted to express her love for her. She felt that he should also have a good impression of her or care about him to do this. Mu Xiao's face was expressionless. I'm sorry that I may have misunderstood you, because I am the captain, and if I don't save you, the bullet will hit your head. So I can't let my teammates die in front of me without leaving. Save her, even if it's a female teammate, I will save her. Zhao Jiarui's eyes were red and tears couldn't help flowing down. I'm sorry I misunderstood. Thank you for saving me, but I still want to tell you that I like you. Of course I know you will refuse, but I still want you to know that I like you. Mu Xiao nodded with a smile, thank you for your like, but I already have someone I love. You are a very strong and wonderful girl. You will meet the person who truly loves you. She laughed and said, thank you. With your kind words, may I ask who she is? It's me. Mu Xiaoyui walked out of the stairs, came to his side, held his hand, and the two looked at each other and smiled. She looked nervous. They couldn't really fall in love. Zhao Jiarui couldn't believe it when she saw the two of them being intimate. She could clearly feel that he liked him as much as she did. She had doubted them before, but that was just doubt. So you are in love and have confirmed your relationship. Does teacher Mu know about it? She probably won't agree. He looked at him and said, well, we have confirmed our relationship. My sister knows our relationship and agrees with me being together. She smiled with relief. If I lost to someone who is also a girl, I might not be willing to accept it. But since he is Mu Xiaoyui, I won't be willing to accept it. That's just how people are. He smiled and said, yes, so you will support me. I will support you, wish you happiness forever, and I will keep it a secret for you. Mu Xiaoyui nodded and smiled, yes. Thank you. She looked at them, who were both men, and said, then this matter is a little more troublesome, but it mainly depends on where you two will go in the future. After all, there is still a long way to go, and only time will prove it. However, she was still happy for them. After all, she was not the kind of paranoid person, a crazy person who destroyed everything she couldn't get. After a while, Ma Chao ran up and said, hey, what are you three doing up there? Let's go, everyone is waiting for you two to play basketball. Okay, here we come. The two of them had no choice but to follow him happily to play basketball, and there were already a lot of people watching. Mu Qingjian stood on the balcony and looked at the backs of their handsome goals, with a look of doting on her face. It turns out that her brothers look like this when they play basketball. They are quite handsome. Looking at the female classmates who were watching, they were fascinated by them, and they cheered for them one by one. They were really welcome, and suddenly I felt like I had a younger brother who had just grown up. After they finished, the two girls shyly held a bottle of mineral water each and were pushed over by the girls around them. The two girls handed the water to them. Classmate Mu, thank you for your hard work. Please drink the water. The two of them looked at each other and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I'm not used to drinking things from strangers. Thank you for your kindness. The two girls covered their faces and ran away with heartbroken expressions, and the female classmates around them immediately chased after them. The two of them felt a line of sight, and when they raised their heads, they saw Mu Qingjian in the distance. The two people's eyes met hers, and they couldn't help but blush slightly when they saw the evil smile on her face. She saw them looking over and gave them a heart-to-heart without hesitation. Looking at the movements of her hands, it was obvious that the two of them had a heart-to-heart collision, and Mu Xiao blushed instantly. He never imagined that his sister could be so naughty. Mu Xiaoyui saw him blushing, and a gentle smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Seeing their appearance, the corners of her mouth raised and she couldn't help but chuckle. They saw her smiling face and knew that they were being teased by her again, but there was nothing they could do about her. Their own sister could only pamper her. Ma Chao patted them from behind. Have you rested? It's about to start again. Oh, why are your faces so red? Ahem, maybe it's because of too much exercise and insufficient blood supply. After speaking, he glanced at Mu Qingjian. She made a cheering gesture, and they couldn't help laughing when they saw it. Ma Chao looked at their strange expressions, followed his gaze to the teaching building behind them, and watched his teacher make a cheering gesture. He immediately put his arms around his neck and said, Sir, you have been flirting with the teacher for a long time, bullying us for not having a sister. Mu Xiao watched him put his hand on his shoulder and pulled him away. You saw it yourself, blame me. You mean to blame me for my good eyesight? Sure enough, I forgot about my good brother when I had a sister. I was so shocked. No, you have to treat me today to make up for my hurt heart. He looked helpless as he looked at Ma Chao, who was acting rogue. Okay, let me treat you. Eat whatever you want, you are so stingy. This time he looked satisfied. That's pretty much it? Let's go, let's start. Mu Qingjian returned to her office and sighed in a mature manner, my Xiao has grown up and is already shy when it comes to falling in love. Huh? Why do Qing'er sigh so much? Han Yexuan's voice sounded from behind her. She turned around and said, "Xian, you are back. How is the child?" He came to her side and hugged her. "My brother has raised your child to be fat and healthy, don't worry. Ching-er, have you ever wanted to be your husband during the 10 days I've been away?" She blushed and avoided his fiery eyes. "I think it would be nice if you came back." "Ching-er, I miss you too. Are there any benefits tonight?" Mu Qingjian lay in his arms in shame. "You didn't. Really? Then go back and take care of the baby." He planned to leave with a sad look on his face. "Ahem, yes, okay." She was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to crawl in. Han Yexuan hugged her happily and said, "Ching-er, I'll go back first. I'll wait for you at home after that." He left. Luo Lei opened the door with a confused look on his face. "Why couldn't you hear what the boss called you just now? Also, the door was broken and couldn't be opened, and now it's open again. It's really strange." Mu Qingjian turned around and said, "Ahem, I don't know. What's wrong?" "It's lunchtime, boss, let's go eat." Okay, I'll go right away." Luo Lei looked at her and didn't notice anything strange about her. After all, her back was to him, so he had to order her favorite food first. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 236. Chapter 236, Pregnant with Your Child. When Mu Qingjian came back, Han Yexuan picked her up. "Ching-er, you're back." "Ahem, I'm back. Why don't you take a rest?" "Huh? It's rare for Ching-er to forget that we made an agreement. Why do you want to break the agreement?" No," she concealed her embarrassment. She hugged him and said, "Okay, don't be angry. I was just playing outside for a while." "Ching-er, are you avoiding me? That's why you came back so late." She turned her head away, embarrassed to say that she was just a little embarrassed, so she came back late on purpose. He looked at her evasive eyes and said, "Ching-er, how do you think I'm going to punish you? How dare you avoid me?" After saying that, he stretched out his hand to tickle her. Soon she raised her hands in surrender and looked at him with tears in her eyes. How could he let her go when he saw her like this? He just picked her up and went into the house to work overtime. By the time she woke up, it was already morning. When she went downstairs, Han Yexuan was drinking tea and playing chess with Mr. Bo, feeling in good spirits. She came to him and changed the tea for them. "Grandpa, drink tea, do you like it?" "Okay, Xiao Yan, wake up. Wake up, Grandpa." Bo Lao took a sip and fell in love with the tea. "Yeah. Okay, great tea. Xiao Yan, do you have any extra? Give some to Grandpa. I'll go find Lao Yin and Lao Zhang for afternoon tea in the afternoon." Mu Qingjian took out a few boxes of tea from the space and said, "Grandpa, I have a lot, you can get it from me after you finish it." Bo Lao took the tea with a happy face and said with a happy smile, "Okay, Grandpa will come to you after drinking." "Ahem, by the way, Xiao Yan, do you still have that kind of spiritual wine? Give Grandpa some. Grandpa wants to have a few drinks with them in the afternoon." She still patiently took out 10 bottles of spirit wine from the space. "Although Grandpa is a good wine, it is too tonic, so you and Mr. Yin should drink less." "Haha, okay, Grandpa will go find them after playing this game." Han Yexuan saw that he was so anxious to drink, so he deliberately lost to him. This made Mr. Bo so happy that he went to find Mr. Yin and Mr. Zhang next door with a few boxes of tea and a few bottles of wine. Before leaving, she did not forget to tell him not to drink too much. Bo Lao said a few perfunctory words and left, just like an old child. Han Yexuan came to her side and took her hand. Ching-er, you're awake. She glared at him and said, you still have the nerve to say, husband, I miss you too much, so I can't control myself. After saying this, he hugged her and asked for forgiveness. I'll forgive you this time. I'm going back to school later. I didn't go this morning. I know, so I told Luolei that it's okay. She was curious about how he had Luolei's contact information. How do you have his contact information? How come I didn't know you were so losers? Isn't this your regular partner, so it's more convenient, right? Okay, that's right. At this time, Boyi came back looking lost, as if he hadn't seen them. The two looked at him with strange expressions, and Mukinjian walked to his side. What's wrong with you? Why do you look so lost? What happened? Seeing her, he looked at her as if he were saved. Xiao Yan, please save her, please. It's all my fault for harming her. What happened? Who did you harm? Don't worry and tell me. Boyi said quickly, it's Gu Xinmen. She had an accident with me and now she's in a vegetative state. I just didn't want to harm her, so I told her not to pester me. As a result, she left sadly and died. Car accident. Her parents also refused me to go in to see her. Did I do something wrong? He never imagined that he would be tricked into drinking the medicine, and then he would meet Gu Xinmen by chance. As a result, they slept together by accident. He never imagined that the story on the TV plot would happen to him, and she was only an 18-year-old girl. You two have a relationship, right? What's the difference between you and a scumbag? Do you think you two are not on the same page, so you reject her? But she is already yours, how can you say such things to her without hurting others? Is that possible? She may be pregnant with your child, do you know, she said coldly. Boyi looked panicked, it's impossible. It was just an accident for us. It can't happen all at once. She shook her head helplessly, let's go. Go and see her. You can stay at home and I'll go with him. Okay, Ching-er, go ahead. When the two drove to the hospital, they saw Gu Xinmen's mother crying sadly, and Gu's father comforting her with red eyes. Seeing Boyi appear again, the couple instantly became excited. Father Gu said angrily, didn't I let you go? Why are you coming back? We don't want to see you. Gu's mother cried, let's go. Don't come to harm my Meng Meng. She has become like this because of you. Do you still think it's not enough to harm her? My Meng Meng is only 18 years old, my life has just begun, and the result. She covered her mouth and couldn't speak anymore. She covered her mouth and burst into tears. Father Gu hugged her with a distressed look on his face, you go, we don't want to see you again. If you are not Bo Lao's son and Meng Meng likes you, I will definitely send you to jail. Boyi stepped aside sadly and fell into deep self-blame. Mukinjian walked up to them and said apologetically, I'm sorry, it was my uncle who was at fault first. I understand that you are so angry, so I will pay for what he did wrong. I will rescue Gu Xinmen. The two of them are ready to cook, so our Bo family will let Boyi marry her. After all, our Bo family is a daredevil. What do you think? What about Boyi? Boyi knelt down, it's my fault, Uncle Gu, I like Meng Meng, so please marry her to me. I will take care of her for the rest of my life and never let her down. Mother Gu looked at him while crying, what's the use of saying these words now? Meng Meng has turned into a vegetative state, if you had said such things earlier, this would not have happened. Mukinjian looked at Gu Xinmen who was lying on the hospital bed, Uncle Gu, I believe you should know me and know my abilities. So I said, I will save her, you go out first. Of course Father Gu knew her, okay, I will believe you just once. After the two of them went out, she quickly used her divine power to repair her damaged body. When she saw the embryos pregnant in her womb, she quickly used her divine power to heal them. They were saved from being lost. Fortunately, they were rushed in time, otherwise the children would be dead. 10 minutes later, Gu Xinmen slowly opened her eyes when she saw Mu Qingjian. "Teacher Mu, why are you here?" She rubbed her head. "Be careful in the future. You are pregnant. Fortunately, you and the children are fine." End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 237. Chapter 237. The expert has a daughter-in-law. When she heard her words, she was stunned. Then she touched her belly with a shocked look on her face. She had given birth to Boyai's child. She was going to be a mother. This was their child. Looking at her in a daze, she had no choice but to go out and tell them the good news. Mu Qingjian walked out, and they looked at her nervously. Bo Yi asked cautiously, "Xiao Yan, how is Xiao Meng?" Mother and Father Gu on the side also looked at her nervously. "Is she okay?" She nodded. "Go in. She has already woken up." Bo Yi hurriedly walked in, and Gu Xinmen looked up at him. "Brother Yi." Bo Yi looked at her and hugged her in fear. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I like you, Gu Xinmen. Because I'm so many years older than you, that's why I'm like this. I'm sorry, I will never let you go again." She hugged him in emotion and cried, "Brother Yi, I don't care how much older you are than me. I have liked you since I met Brother Yi when I was a child." When Gu's parents saw them, they didn't stop them after all. After all, she was already awake and they were already very happy. Mu Qingjian pulled Boyai aside. "Okay, please pay attention, she has a baby in her belly. Xiao Meng, please stop crying, and be careful not to get too excited." Father Gu looked shocked, a little frightened. "Is yours?" Gu Xinmen looked at Boyai shyly, and he lowered his head with a guilty look on his face. "Uncle Gu is mine." Father Gu's eyes widened. You bastard." Mother Gu hugged her and said, "My little Meng, you finally woke up. You scared your mother to death. Don't do this again." "Mom, I'm sorry for making you and Dad worried." "Dad, I like my brother, please agree to let us be together. Please." Father Gu was silent for a while and sighed deeply. "You're already like this, how can you disagree with me, Dad? If you dare to bully my daughter again in the future, I will never let you go." Bo Yi nodded happily when he saw that Gu's father agreed. "I will. If he bullies her, I won't be able to spare him, old man, and I will let you deal with him." Mr. Bo walked in angrily and said, "Dad." "Bo Lao." "Grandpa, you're here." Mu Qingjian walked up to him. Lao Bo nodded with a smile and became serious again when he looked at Boyai. "You kid, you want to go to heaven. Kneel down." Bo Yi knelt down obediently. Bo Lao picked up the crutch in his hand and slapped his back hard. The sound hurt. Gu Xinmen said with a distressed look on her face, "Don't hit Brother Yi, please don't hit him." Bo Lao said angrily, "He hurt you and you still speak for him, so he should be beaten." "I don't blame Brother Yi, it's because I love him too much, it's because I'm too impulsive." How could Father Gu not know that what Bo Lao did was actually to give the Gu family an explanation and let him speak out, even though he was still very happy to see him being beaten. But since his daughter felt distressed, he had no choice but to say, "Ahem, forget it, Mr. Bo, just teach him a lesson. He should know he was wrong." Bo Lao took back his crutch and said with a smile, "Then please stop being angry. When will we have a wedding reception? It would be better for them to get married earlier, don't you think so?" Father Gu nodded and smiled. "Bo Lao is right, the date is up to you." "Haha, okay, then let's make it the 29th of this month, I've just made people look forward to it, This is a good day. Father Gu looked surprised. Ahem, Mr. Bo will get married the day after tomorrow, it's too soon. Mr. Bo patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, oh. It's not too early. If possible, I will let the brat marry the girl back today. So let's just make an agreement. I'll leave the wedding banquet to you. Me. Don't worry. I'll let Boy marry her home grandly. Okay, I can rest assured that Mr. Bo will do his job. Haha. Mu Kinjian couldn't help but smile when she saw her grandfather looking happy. He quickly lifted Boy up from the ground and handed him the ointment. Go back and apply it carefully, Grandpa is not gentle. Okay, I'm fine, hee. She saw his silly smile and shook her head helplessly, seeing that he couldn't tell whether he was happy or not. On the other hand, Gu Xinmen looked shy and could only lie in Gu's mother's arms. Mother Gu rubbed her head lovingly. She didn't expect that her daughter was about to get married. Time flew by so fast. Seeing his daughter's happy smile, maybe Boy will be a good husband and father. After all, his character is obvious to all, so how could Bo Lao's children be so bad? In this way, the two people got married the day after tomorrow. Mu Qingjian and Han Yexuan had just gotten married, and another happy event happened. But this is the first time the Bo family has held a happy event, so everyone is still very happy. Lao Bo's status means that those who come to his wedding will not be any worse than Mu Qingjian. Furthermore, Boy himself is also a CEO with a net worth of hundreds of billions, not to mention that he is the only son of Mr. Bo. Anyone who marries him will really make everyone envious. Bo Yi also has a niece called Mu Qingjian, so there are many people who want to curry favor with their Bo family. At night, Mo Ching Cheng, Mo Ling Han Dongling, and others gathered together. Bo Yi smiled and said, there is something very important. I want to tell you a good thing. I am getting married the day after tomorrow, and I am going to be a father, haha. Mo Ling looked happy, congratulations. Xiaoi, we must support your wedding. Han Dongling then said in surprise, Brother Bo, you are too hasty to get married. Are you kidding us? She meant? Do we know each other? Why didn't I know when you had a girlfriend? This came so suddenly that it scared me. Boy smiled and said, really, Gu Xinmen and I are together, and she is pregnant with my child. Xiaodong, are you willing to be my best man? I just want you to be single as soon as possible. After all, you are the only one among the three of us. There is no one to marry. It's great to be the best man. I'm looking forward to Brother Bo's wedding. I haven't met anyone I like yet. You all have wives and children. Suddenly I want to find a partner too. Mo Ching Cheng shook his head helplessly. Isn't it easy for you to be single? As long as you want to, it's not a problem at all. Haha, of course, but it's not that easy to meet someone you like. You can only take a step and see. If you don't rush to find a wife, Grandpa Han will probably chase you and force you to go on a blind date, Boy said with a smile. Hey, don't mention it. If my grandpa knows that you are married and have a baby, I will probably die. Haha. The few people chatted very happily, and they didn't go their separate ways until the party was over. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 238. Chapter 238 Doing Tasks. In this way, Bo Lao agreed to the matter between the two of them, and the two of them got together as they wished. Bo Yi and Gu Xinmen also got married today, and everyone was happy. Of course, the happiest people are Bo Lao and the others. Not long ago, they were disgusted that their son was almost 30 years old and still had no wife. Now I have a daughter-in-law and a grandson, which makes the two old people feel relieved. The Bo family can be considered to be truly successful. The path chosen by Mu Xiao and others can only be allowed to continue well. A few days later, Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui suddenly felt that they were about to break through. They rushed to the virgin forest. Mukinjian sensed that they were about to break through, and followed them closely. The two of them saw that they were far enough away from the city, so they hurriedly meditated. Suddenly, dark clouds filled the sky, and thunder struck the two of them. But she could only watch and could not help them, otherwise they would not be able to advance normally. It wasn't until they were hit by 9 thunders that they successfully advanced. Both people's hair was chopped off, and they looked at each other awkwardly. Mukinjian couldn't help but laugh. "Haha, I'm laughing so hard. You two have no hair. But don't say it, it looks pretty good like this." Mu Xiao blushed. "Sister, don't laugh at us. How can we go back to school like this?" "Ahem, I know, let me fix it for you." Soon the wounds of the two men healed slowly, and their shiny black hair grew back. Now the two of them can be said to be invulnerable to all poisons. They can even destroy our country. But the law of heaven does not allow it. They can become gods, but they cannot be destroyed. However, they will no longer be here in this world when they become gods, so the law of heaven here does not have that much control. Anyway, when they become gods, they will send people away. Mukinjian looked at the several divine beasts in the space. Now they were strong enough to contract a divine beast, so she took all the divine beasts out of the space. "This is the mythical beast I caught for you in another world. Do you two like it? If you like it, make a contract between them." Mu Xiao looked at the divine beast beside her with a look of surprise. "Sister, do you really want to give it to us?" "Yes, this was brought back to you. Do you like it?" "Sister, we all like it. Just give us one. We will be very happy if we have one." Several spiritual beasts saw the two but did not dare to get too close. They still did not make any move after seeing them. A white ball of fur, a different-looking animal, crawled onto Mu Xiao's body and screamed chirp. Rolling coquettishly on his hand, her purple eyes blinked beautifully. "Can I be with you?" He looked at it and nodded. "Yes. You can, but if you stay with me, you will be on your own and you can't cause trouble for me." "Ouch, I like you too, can I?" "I will be good." A pure white tiger looked at him, wagging its tail, like a dog. "Hiss, I'm very useful, and I'm also very good." A purple snake crawled onto Mu Xiaoyui's hand and circled it 3 times. It had a vivid purple bracelet and 2 horns on the snake's head, which was very delicate and beautiful. A little purple wolf sat obediently at Mu Xiaoyui's feet, tilting its head and looking at him. It was so cute. He couldn't help but touch the little wolf, and the little snake slapped its tail on the wolf's head. "Aw!" The little wolf whined in a grieved manner. "Don't bully it. I hope you all cherish each other, live in harmony, and don't fight. Do you understand?" He looked like an old mother teaching her children, reasoning with several mythical beasts. The little purple snake lowered its head and said, I know, I won't bully it anymore." Several beasts also expressed that they would be obedient. The two of them quickly fed their own blood to these mythical beasts, and the contract was soon successful. Mukinjian saw that the contract between the two and her spiritual beast was successful, so she brought them back. As soon as she came back, she received a secret mission to rescue the hostages. Since the hostages were strange people, she was asked to rescue them. When she heard something moving in front of her, she slowly lowered her body and hid behind a tree. Sure enough, I saw a lot of people not far ahead, 6 of them. They were tall and burly. With his yellow hair and white hair and high nose, he looks like a foreigner. After listening to what they said, I realized that they were strange people from abroad, and that their kidnapper was the son of He-Min. No wonder he asked her to take action. It turned out to be the son of Chief He. She waved her hand casually. "What are you doing, Yisk?" A man with a stern look scolded the man who injured his teammate. "No, I don't know me, I can't control myself, no." Boom, the man named Yisk shot at several teammates. "Ah, Several teammates were knocked to the ground instantly. Seeing that his position had been exposed, Carey took the other two men with him. "If you don't want to die, just follow me." After saying that, he ran in her direction. Mukingyan picked up 3 stones and used her divine power to destroy the spiritual weapons in their hands. "Kill one of them directly before they can react." "Who are you? Don't pretend to be a ghost for me." "Haha, the person who wants your life." After saying this, several people started fighting with them. In a short time, several people were incapacitated, and the young man was finally saved. He raised his head and looked at Mukingyan in front of him. He Shenfei could no longer restrain himself and fainted due to excessive blood loss. She subconsciously caught him. She called and someone showed up soon after. "Clean up the scene and bring these people back, whatever is done," she said coldly to the people on the side. "Yes, Chief." After saying this, more than a dozen special forces quickly cleared the scene and left quickly. And He Shenfei was handed over to them by her, and they left here together and got on the plane. When she came back, Chief, he looked at her gratefully. "Thank you, Chief Mu, for saving my son. Please contact me if you need my place." "You're welcome, Chief He, your child is fine, so I'll go back first." "Actually, there is another problem, Chief Mu. I just asked those people, but they still refuse to explain who they were commanding. So, Chief Mu, can you help me find out who it is from them?" Mukingyan nodded and smiled. "Okay, then leave it to me." When she walked in, the leading man glared at her and kept swearing. She also kicked him unceremoniously, scaring the people around her so much that they didn't dare to speak. They didn't expect her to be so powerful. "Don't you want it, mouth? Tell me who asked you to catch He Shenfei, and explain it to me honestly, otherwise my patience will be limited. Of course, if you think your bones are not as strong as mine, you can give it a try." The man remained silent, and Mukingyan was no longer polite and directly attacked him mentally. He told the person who instigated it painfully, and He Min's face changed after hearing this. "Excuse me, Chief Mu. Thank you for your hard work today." "You're welcome, I'll go back first." "Okay, walk slowly, I'll stop by to say thank you next time." Mukingyan will go back after handling the matter, and they will take care of the rest. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 239. Chapter 239, Not as Good as My Sister. The next morning, the people in the special training class were chatting happily in the classroom. At this time, Mukingyan walked into the classroom with 2 freshmen. "Students, please be quiet. This is a new student named He Shenfei. He recently returned from country E. This is classmate Zhao Yunqing. Next, please get along well, you know." He Shenfei said coldly, "My name is He Shenfei." "For it." Everyone said a word when they saw him and were chilled by his aloof appearance. The new male classmate, he is so cold. But he looks quite handsome, he feels cool. Mukingyan coughed lightly and said, "Ahem, He Shenfei, please sit in the last seat in the row." He glanced at her, nodded silently, and left. He was really a cold-hearted man. Zhao Yunqing smiled sweetly. "Hello everyone. My name is Zhao Yunqing. I am 17 years old. Please take good care of me." The special training class suddenly became excited when they saw how cute the new female student was. "Wow, I feel so beautiful and well behaved. She is only 17 years old, she is 1 year younger than us. No, she's so cute, she's my favorite." The enthusiasm of the special training class made her smile happily, turning her head and smiling sweetly. Then he said coquettishly to Mukingyan, "Teacher, Can I choose my own seat? She smiled and said, yes, you can do whatever you want as long as there is space. Thank you, Teacher Mu, you are so kind. Zhao Yunqing walked to the seat in front of Mu Xiaorui and sat down happily. Then he turned to them and smiled, hello, this is my first time meeting you. My name is Zhao Yunqing. Nice to meet you. Please take good care of me in the future. Mu Xiaorui looked at her, have we met? Xiao, do you know her? Mu Xiao shook his head, it's our first time meeting you, so it's not me you should be talking about. She was not angry but smiled and said, this is the first time we have met. What's your name, little brother? This time they knew that she was talking about Mu Xiaorui. Mu Xiaorui said coldly, we are not familiar with each other, so we don't need to introduce each other. When Ma Chao saw how embarrassed the beauty was, he quickly explained, his name is Mu Xiaorui. He just doesn't like talking to girls. Don't mind, Mr. Zhao. She smiled and shook her head, yeah, it's okay, thank you. Mu Xiao saw her behavior and didn't care about her. At this time, male and female classmates immediately gathered around. Zhang Yu said with a happy face, classmate Zhao Yunqing, you look a bit mixed race. But you are so good looking. Lin Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes and said, didn't you say that Teacher Mu is the prettiest? Why does the good-looking one change as soon as he comes? He blushed and said, Teacher is my goddess, there is no doubt about it, but it's okay to look at the pretty ones. He. Vulgar. Zhao Yunqing smiled and explained, my grandfather is a foreigner, so I am somewhat of a mixed race. Okay. The mixed race boy is quite good looking. Why are you only 17 years old? Because I skipped a grade. I was originally a senior high school student, but I just felt that life in high school was too boring. So I took the exam for the senior year, and then returned to China and took the exam for the special training class, and then entered this class. But when I took part in the special training class, I was almost scared, it was so scary. Haha, it's okay to be scary, but you are also awesome. You actually passed Teacher Mu's assessment. You are very brave. Zhao Yunqing blushed shyly, thank you, it just happens that I am a little braver than ordinary people, otherwise I might not be able to pass. Several male classmates surrounded He Shenfei, Mr. He, did you also pass the assessment and enter the special training class? He replied coldly, no, she let me in. Ma Chao looked confused, are you talking about Teacher Mu? She asked you to come in. Haha, I was also asked to come in by the teacher, what a coincidence. He looked at Ma Chao. He looked like a very ordinary person, but he must be extraordinary to be able to come in. After class, several boys went to the toilet together. Ma Chao did not forget to take He Shenfei with him to let him get familiar with the school. While walking on the road, Ma Chao couldn't help but gossip. Xiao Rui, this new transfer student seems to know you. Wu Tao said with a smile, I feel like she not only knows him, I feel like she also likes Xiao Rui. I have to admit that he is handsome and has a lot of luck. Mu Xiaorui looked disgusted, I don't want this beautiful blessing for you. If you like it, go for it. So boring, do you know her? Do not know. Oh, it's rare to fall in love at first sight and then come here to chase you. Okay, let's not mention her any more, ugly, not as good looking as me and sister Xiao. A few people looked at each other, Zhao Yunqing is not ugly. Sure enough, only Mu Qingjian is good looking in their eyes, and the other girls are all ugly. I wonder if she would doubt herself if she knew that she was disliked for being ugly. After several people returned to the classroom and sat down in their seats, Zhao Yunqing smiled and said, can we add each other as WeChat friends? Ma Chao and the others naturally joined her without refusing. After all, it was a classmate's request. She happily held her phone and said, thank you, classmate Mu, Why don't we add a WeChat friend together? If you don't want to, forget it. Unwilling to. He refused before he finished speaking. She didn't think anything of it. Okay. I'll bother you then, thank you. Ma Chao murmured in a low voice, it should be okay to add a friend. After all, we are classmates. I don't add people of the opposite sex, unless our sister is good looking. Otherwise, if something happens, just call me in the classmate group. I don't think there is any need to add someone as a WeChat friend. Mu Xiao wanted to laugh immediately after hearing this. She was probably not more beautiful than her sister. He waved his hand helplessly, tisk tisk, she is indeed a sister. I have never seen a girl who is prettier than the teacher. You can just refuse to add a girl. Zhao Yunqing lowered her head, showing no expression, with a slight smile on her lips. She looks so innocent and cute on the outside, but she is the best at pretending. Because of her sweet personality, good looks, and nice speaking, she quickly gained the favor of many people in the class. During lunch, she went directly to the table where a few people were sitting and sat down. Classmate Ma Chao, I'm sorry, can I sit next to you? Ma Chao hesitated for a moment, okay then. She smiled happily and said, thank you, you are such a good person. Haha, you're welcome, it's nothing. After all, this is the canteen, you can sit wherever you want. Mu Xiaoyue took Mu Xiao away without eating, not wanting to pay attention to her at all. Looking at their backs as they left, she said pitifully, Student Mu, don't they like me? I disturbed their meal. Wu Tao put down his chopsticks, no, that's just their character. They don't like to have contact with girls. So it doesn't mean they don't like you, so you don't have to mind. Oh, so that's what it is like, I understand, thank you. In this way, she failed to approach him again, but she still did not give up. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 240. Chapter 240. Don't try to hurt them. When school was over, the two of them hurried back. At the end of the day, Gu Xinmen always tried every means to get close to Mu Xiaoyue, but he still ignored her. Who would have thought that when school was over, she would shamelessly surround him? Xiaorui, do you want to go home? Where is your home? Let's go back together. The two of them also admired her shamelessness. For ordinary girls, she would have run away long ago, but she didn't stop that day. At this time, he could no longer hold back his temper. Gu Xinmen, please stay away from me. I don't need to be friends with you, and I don't want to get to know you. So please keep your distance from me, and where is my home, it has nothing to do with you, my patience is limited. Mu Xiao said politely, I hope you won't pester Rui all the time. After all, it's not good for anyone to be unhappy, let alone we are classmates. She said innocently, I just want to be friends with him. That's not too much. Do you hate me? Mu Xiaoyue's face darkened, it's extremely annoying. Mu Qingjian parked the car and saw his angry look from a distance, so she hurried over. Xiaorui, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Did you have a quarrel? Mu Xiao walked to her side, sister, we are fine, let's go home. She looked at Gu Xinmen aside and knew that it must be related to her. Okay. Then, classmate Gu, let's go home first. See you tomorrow. She smiled sweetly and said, okay, goodbye, teacher Mu. We'll see you tomorrow, Xiaorui and Xiaoyu. After the two of them got into the car and left, she looked at the car as they left with a serious face. Then Mu Qingjian walked up to her and said, what is your purpose of getting close to them? You should know that some people are not people you can afford to play with. So I think classmate Gu should keep a little distance from my brothers. They all have people they like, so it is impossible for him to choose you, So people must be self-aware, she said coldly. Gu Xinmen laughed and said, Teacher Mu, we are all of the same kind, don't you think it would be better to choose me? And Teacher Mu, my purpose is to chase classmate Mu Xiaoyui, who does he like, and it doesn't matter to me, as long as I like him. After all, there is still a long time to come. He just likes her and we are not together anymore, so my chances are still very good. She was instantly stunned by her shameless words and outlook. This girl probably didn't know what shame was. A person like you will never get him, and don't even think about hurting my brothers, otherwise I will make you regret coming to this world. Looking at her leaving figure, she gave a faint evil smile. I'm waiting for you. Then he got in the car and left. That smile and eyes don't look like a normal girl at all. After returning home, she slowly said to the two of them, Gu Xinmen is not an ordinary person. You should be careful about her. Her strength is no worse than the two of you. The two of them looked surprised. They didn't expect her strength to be so terrifying. Sister, is she also an immortal cultivator? She is not an immortal cultivator. She has no aura on her body. I suspect that she used some kind of illusion to transfer to this body. In this case, I can't tell. I can only observe it later. I want to see how much she wants to get close. What are you doing, Xiaorui? The two of them nodded and said, Okay, sister, we understand. No matter who she is, we will keep a certain distance from her. Okay, just pay attention to her and be careful about her. Anyway, if she dared to hurt her brothers, she, Mu Qingjian, would never let her go. Gu Xinmen returned home and came to her room. There was a portrait of Bai Yushan on the table in her room, and she greedily touched the face of his portrait. I will let you know that I am the one who loves you the most. How could you abandon me for her? I have been with you for hundreds of years, but now you are unwilling to come back to this world. Look at Mu Qingjian, she is married to someone else in this world. She may have forgotten you a long time ago. I am the only one who loves you, and no one loves you more than me. I will avenge myself. I will make her lose everyone she cares about and avenge herself. Yes, she is the female vampire Eniu next to Bai Yushan. She was rescued by a mysterious man and waited until the past few years to recover. She had been searching for 10 years before she found a suitable host for her soul, so she dared to appear in front of Mu Qingjian, knowing that no matter how powerful she was, it would be difficult for her to figure out who she was. In this body now, she has an extremely powerful background, an extraordinary identity, wealth, and beauty. But she didn't expect that Mu Qingjian, who had disappeared for so many years, would appear again. She couldn't touch Han Yexuan. But she could the brothers she cared about from her hands and turn them against each other. The thought of seeing her sad face made her feel extremely excited and expectant deep in her heart. She wants her to experience her original pain and what it feels like to lose someone she cares about. On the other side, Mu Qingjian suddenly felt uneasy, and got the god-level marrow cleansing pill and divine water from the space, intending to strengthen the mortal bodies of the two of them. This divine water and marrow cleansing pill were both brought from the god realm. They were rare good things, but they were of no use to her. After all, she was already a god. The two were soaking in the barrel, and they said a little embarrassedly, Sister, what do you want to do? Why do you want us to take a medicinal bath? Mu Qingjian stood next to the bucket. These medicinal materials are also good treasures. I got them from the old medicine with great difficulty. You too should make a good brew. They will be of great benefit to your cultivation and cultivation path. Come on. Take this pill. It may feel a little painful after eating, so you two need to hold on tight. Mu Xiaorui and Mu Xiao opened their mouths and took the elixir in. After all, she was their sister and would never harm them. They would dare to swallow the poison even if it was poison. She looked happy when she saw the two of them eating it without hesitation. As the medicinal bath and elixir took effect at the same time, the two of them slowly felt pain all over their bodies. As they went to the back, their faces became paler and paler, and they were almost in pain. She saw them looking in pain. She had used ordinary marrow cleansing pills, so she knew how painful it was. But I have never used the God-level marrow cleansing pill, so it will probably be more painful. But seeing the two of them in such discomfort, she couldn't help but feel distressed. Now she could only watch over them from the side, and they needed to get through this on their own. After 6 hours, the two men's breathing became slow and normal. At this moment, the two of them were dressed in pitch black. When they opened their eyes, they saw each other in pitch black. I immediately ran to the bathroom to take a shower in embarrassment, and the two of them did not dare to look at her at all. They took a shower in the bathroom for more than an hour before they dared to come out. End of this chapter.